All right, so today we're going to talk about how to turn your social media into a social strategy. If you've been to any of our webinars in the past, you will probably recognize my voice or some variation of this slide. Oh, wow, we're jumping around real fast today, you silly slide. All right, so my name is Melina. I am the manager of dealer development here at Strathcom Media, and I've spent more than 10 years working in dealerships with one dealer group in Western Canada, and I specialized in digital marketing, SEO, and social media. And I'm not going to lie, so I have written, revised, and rewritten this webinar probably 2 or 3 times in the past week because there is so much to talk about with regard to social media and so many different perspectives and techniques and new things that we could discuss. However, I know we try and keep these around the 30-minute mark, so we narrowed it down. But if you would like to be able to attend a more in-depth webinar course on social media, like something around like a 1 to 2 hour kind of a thing where we can go through different techniques and talk a lot more with the ability for you to ask questions as we go, that I can answer for everybody and provide that sort of back with handouts and quizzes and stuff, let me know, and I will work towards putting together one for you. But today we are going to talk about, oh, come on, you slide. There we go. We're going to talk about what social media is and isn't for car dealerships. We're going to talk about what platforms and stuff that you can be on and what the best practices are with those platforms, and we're going to talk about what tools are available to you to be able to really leverage social media as best you can so that it's strategic and not just something fun that everybody says like, oh yeah, this is the person who does our social media. There's more to it than that. We are also doing the Q&A like last week's webinar. We're going to try doing it throughout as long as the questions are coming up. And if not, I will still answer Q&A. We'll have a typical period at the very end. So let's start kind of looking at everything else. What is social media? At a high level, social media is just websites or applications that enable its users to create and share content or participate in social networking. But you know that. And so what we're here to talk about is what social media is or isn't for car dealerships. So social media is not about going viral. I hear this when we ask dealers all the time what their goals are with social media. The number of times I hear going viral makes me want to pull my hair out. Your goal should not be to go viral because virality is not a strategy. When it comes to something going viral, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's when you post something and then for whatever reason, unbeknownst to everyone else, it becomes extraordinarily popular, picks up steam, and everyone shares it, and suddenly the whole world knows about this thing that's on social media. Virality and viral content is the exception, it is not the rule. And if there was a science behind causing something to go viral, and I had that equation, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd be somewhere else in the world selling that equation for millions of dollars. If someone comes to your dealership promising you that they have this equation for you, I encourage you to ask them why they're hawking that strategy to car dealerships and not to your national manufacturers or your global brand or any other number of major global companies, because they're the ones who will have the appropriate budget to pay for what that strategy is actually worth and if it actually works. So please, let's forget about going viral. Social media is not about being everywhere or having more profiles than the next guy or having a boatload of followers. Volume is a vanity metric. Before you even post anything, I need you to get into the mindset where you need to do a better job of doing less. We have this feeling, especially with social media, where we feel like we need to be on every single channel out there. There are so many different social media platforms, and they all have different delivery methods because they have different user intent. It isn't our job to be on every channel. It's our job to figure out which ones to be on based on the user intent for that platform and how that user intent lines up with the intent of the customers that we are targeting in our ROI goals, you know, the ones that make us money. So for the websites, for the platforms and stuff that we're going to talk about today, I want to talk about how we can use this to be strategic and make money. There are all kinds of things that you can do out there, but let's talk about the things that are going to matter so that when you have to rationalize to your general manager why you're spending all of this time doing this, that it can translate to something. So as an example, I do not want you to Pinterest. This was a really big thing a few years ago where lots of agencies and businesses were telling everybody that they needed to be on Pinterest, especially in automotive, because we wanted to appeal to more women. And women use Pinterest, so all of this time and effort was being put in to curate beautiful pins, and why not? You know, Pinterest has 175 million active users, and 81% of them are female. And 93% of active pinners said that they use Pinterest to plan for purchases, and 87% said they've purchased something because of Pinterest. But what seems to have been neglected is the fact that local dealerships who sell cars don't have online e-commerce points, the same way that cute shoes or outfits or trendy coffee mugs do on Pinterest that link back to those e-commerce sites. And there isn't that DIY aspect that we're trying to appeal to, like the way that they do with hair tutorials or low-carb dinner recipes or instructions about how to throw a first birthday party that will be the envy of all of your friends. Because in order for us to make the most money at car dealerships, we need customers to come into our dealerships to have us do the work for them. So we don't want them to do that work themselves. So there's also no way to actively engage with users or track customers to purchase because we don't have the e-commerce points, and there's not really that area to chat and go back and forth with customers. You can comment on it, but it gets lost because Pinterest is really just digital hoarding. So this is an example of how even though the platform might appeal to the audience that we want to sell to, it isn't going to be worth our time because the user intent on Pinterest is far different than the customer intent that we are trying to make money from. So long story short, please don't waste your time doing Pinterest. I know of many other things that everyone can do that will actually make them some money. So companies who do well with social media focus only on the platforms that their customers are on and that they have the resources to do well with. Don't distract yourself by trying to be everywhere and everything to everyone and do a half-assed job of that because you have to divvy up your time amongst everything. You have to choose a few and make a focused effort to do it well. The next one is going to be a bomb for all of you, but social media is not for direct sales. And let me tell you why. Because we are going to talk a little bit about how social media can lead to selling vehicles and to lead to other things, but it's not for direct sales. And the number one answer to that is because social media has low organic reach and decreasing referral traffic to your dealership websites. And the reason for that is kind of twofold. There is an overwhelming amount of content online. Right now, like even if you opened up your social media feeds and you saw all of the different things that are there, everyone is trying to create something to throw into the social media gauntlet and hope for the best. It's not going to work. It's a waste of time to spend all of your effort creating all of this content that nobody's going to see. The other reason for that is because organic posting algorithms prioritize engagement over volume. So one of the things that you'll notice is that the posts that show up more often, and especially on social media now, they're doing a lot of suggested posts, whether they're paid or not paid, because people that you are friends with have liked this post. So they think that because you're friends with them, you might also like this post. People who also like the same pages as you, whether you're friends with them or not, it'll try and deliver you those kinds of things because it wants to deliver whatever it thinks you're going to like. So the algorithm prioritizes posts that other people have liked, other people have commented on, other people have shared, because clearly the content is valuable to someone. And the last reason that it's not for direct sales is because social media has users who have high intention of reaching brands on their own terms. And their own terms aren't coming to you so that you can hard sell them right then and there. Think of it this way. The iPhone is one of the most popular items in the world. But you can imagine that Apple doesn't get a lot of people going to their Facebook or Instagram page to reach out and directly say, hey, sell me an iPhone right here. If you visit their pages, you will see that a lot of the engagement on their product posts, whether it's iPhone, watch, MacBook, whatever, the engagement typically is, A, I love my Apple Watch, or I love my iPhone or my MacBook, or B, something is wrong with my iPhone and I need you to fix this. Can I do this with my phone and can you show me how? So they want to engage with you on a service kind of aspect instead of just having you say, hey, this is the iPhone and this is the price and this is what I want you to pay and do right now. So a little bit further than that, a study by Sprout Social, for those of you who don't know, Sprout Social is a posting platform that you can use to post. It's a tool that you can use to post on social media, and because they have so much integration with different social media platforms, they were able to utilize some of that data, and they found that 85% of people have to see something on social media once, but more than once, before they would purchase it. But they also found that customers will unfollow you if you post too many promotional messages. So by engaging with your customers through timely customer support or one-on-one conversations and interesting or helpful content, you can strengthen your brand image. And then when customers are deciding if they should continue to purchase, if they should purchase or continue to purchase from you, that increased brand equity from social media will help win them over. Ads are for sales. So if you're really concerned about direct sales, use advertising. If you want to learn more about social advertising and how it can tie in with your organic posting and be strategic that way, we are going to do a social media advertising webinar on Thursday, September 21st at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. But this webinar is not going to talk about ads. I want to talk about what you can do on your own this way. So based on everything I've said, it can kind of confirm for you that social media is for customer service. Social media is for connecting with people. And we talked before about how social media sets the expectation that users can get in touch with brands or businesses on their own terms. And because we're taught to respond to everything on social media and interact with customers on social media, it quickly becomes their preferred method of choice. I know this to be true because I routinely brought customers into the dealership myself, as me, Melina, by providing great customer service through our social media accounts at the dealerships that I worked with to see if it was possible. So if you want, like, I guess to give you a better insight, we're going to have a little bit of story time. So in 2012, I decided that I wanted to start answering the questions that people asked on social media. The store that I did this the most with was Wheaton Honda out here in Edmonton. And what I did was I would troll around on social media, you know, kind of creeping to see what people were talking about related to Honda questions. And specifically, I noticed that Honda Canada did a really poor job of answering the questions that people were asking of the global brand, probably because the people operating the Honda Canada social media accounts didn't really have access to the answers that people were looking for anyway. So you'd get a lot of people who asked questions about, you know, when do I need to come in for a B service? Or what kind of oil does my Honda CR-V need? Or various things related to their cars. So I would write down the questions and I would run downstairs to my service department and I would ask the question of my service manager, whoever else I needed to ask the question for, and I would post the answer. And the more I did this and the more I interacted and tried to help people, the more I was rewarded. So when it came time for people to ask questions, other people who also followed Honda topics would tag Wheaton Honda in the posts so that I knew that they were asking a question that I probably had the answer to. And you soon become this repository for all of the answers all of the time. And it's a great opportunity for you to be able to levy that, to kind of, you know, increase the number of customers that are coming to your dealership. So eventually what it turned into is I had customers that would ask us how much this particular part was, and I'd go down to the parts department and say this much, and then they would come and buy it. Or they would ask how much it's going to cost for an oil change, and, you know, can they get in this morning? Yes, and it's going to cost you this much. And soon it sort of became this snowball thing. So at one point, what we did was we saw a customer who asked the question, how many dog crates can I fit in the back of a Honda Fit? And what it was is there was a couple here in Edmonton who runs a company called Cali-Can Dog Rescue. And so what they would do is they would fly out to California to shelters that were going to put down a number of animals that didn't have homes and that they couldn't find homes for, and they'd fly them back to Canada and find them homes here to kind of help fight against, you know, the people who want smaller dog breeds but don't necessarily want to use a breeder. So they would go and they'd rescue dogs, and they were doing so with the vehicle that they had, which was fine. But they wanted to, you know, further down the line, if they're looking to buy a car, how many dog crates can you fit in the back of the Honda Fit? And me, being the extraordinarily keen, probably overachiever kind of type that I was, and that I am, but what we did was we went downstairs and we found a tape measure, and we went into the showroom with my business development manager and my sales manager, and we shot a quick video on my phone where we showed the different ways that you could configure the back end of a Honda Fit. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Hondas, they've got magic seats, so you can have 2 separate cargo areas where you flip the seats up, and there's kind of a deep crevice in the back seat plus the cargo area in the back, or you could fold it flat. We did all that, we measured it all out, and we made a quick blog post to send back to the customer showing all of these different configurations, include the video, write out all of the dimensions, and then include a chart for the standard dog crate sizes. So for those of you who are interested in knowing, you can fit an extra large dog crate in the back of a Honda Fit. But for these people who are looking for small dogs, they can fit 2 or 3. And that was great, and we delivered it back within the hour to the customer, and he was blown away. And it was really great because then he started conversing with us on a more regular basis. And what we ended up with was a guy who then he posted a few months later that the back window of his Toyota Corolla that they were using for this, somebody had smashed the windshield in. And you know, I connected with him and said, like, look, we can get your vehicle into the body shop. We can replace the windshield for you, and I can get you in at this time. It'll be this price. And he sent me a message back that was kind of funny because he goes, you know what, I wish that I could trade my car in without a back windshield. And I said, well, you can, because logistically you can absolutely do that. It's going to be cheaper for us internally to replace a car windshield, right, than it is for a customer to do it at retail price. So bring your car in, we'll appraise it. And that afternoon I sold my first car. And what happened is that he came in, we appraised his vehicle at the cost that it was, taking into account that we were going to have to do this, and this to make it suitable to sell by AMVIC's guidelines. And we showed him a middle to lower trim Honda Fit that had just the right amount of everything for him, and they drove it away the next day after we'd reconditioned it and made sure it was nice and pretty and clean. So that's kind of, I guess, the way that you can leverage this. And just in case you don't think that some people think that you embellish a little bit, I actually have a video that we shot with this guy a few months later showing how they use their Honda Fit and talking about the experience of that. And really, like, from a dealership standpoint, you've heard me talk about reputation in past webinars and how relevant that is. The best customer testimonial I can get is a guy saying, hey, they did all of this for us, and we did this, and they can do that for you. So you can watch that video. We'll include it when we send out the recording and everything. But I just need you to know social media is for connecting with people, and that it can provide you with the goals, with the tools to accomplish a goal. So social media is a tool that you can use to help achieve ROI goals as long as they're realistic ones. So when it comes to using social media as a tool, what you need to do is you need to figure out which metrics actually matter and track them. So mentions and shares and followers, they're vanity metrics. They're a piece in the puzzle, but they're not what's going to make you money today. Followers and likes don't pay the bills. So what you need to do is figure out what actions your customers take as a stepping stone to get to your end goal, which for most of us is sales. But I know I just told you that social media isn't for direct sales, especially with automotive dealerships, because we don't have a true e-commerce structure, because we haven't developed an e-commerce structure that lets me put a car that I want to buy in my cart and click checkout, because of the different logistical issues that presents. So what kind of ROI goals and metrics can you look for with social media that you can then translate into something that you can show a general manager or a dealer principal to kind of legitimize what you're working on? So let's look at what a couple major brands globally did. So KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, who now has, really kind of launched their foray into the North American market to get people over to Europe, they looked at sales generated from customers who visited their site directly from social media, and they found that those customers contributed 25 million euros of sales in 2014. So they knew that if they'd visited their social media, those people are for sure buying from them. Let's make some more effort to post on social media. Not necessarily about sales or anything like that, just about being there and being present and building brand equity. So another one, BT, which is BT Customer Services. They're a British telecommunications company. They calculated a cost of saving 2 million euro per year, 2 million pounds per year from providing social customer support. Because customer support through social media is cheaper than that through the phone. You don't have to worry about training people to be good on the phone. You just have to worry about whether or not they can spell their name with a capital letter at the front, and be able to answer people's questions quickly and easily. And notwithstanding, you don't have to pay for software for call centers and everything like that, because you can use the free things that are offered to you with social media. So another one. Made.com, which is a furniture and home decor company from the UK, they compared the average order value from people who went to their site from social media versus people who went directly to their site or via search. Their average social media fans spend, on average, 4% more per order. So they were able to track that and say, like, hey, these people are spending more money because they seem to care about us. There seems to be this brand loyalty. Let's try this. And then the last one that I've got for you is as an example, InContact. They're an American company that provides software to companies with call centers. For those of you who use call centers to do private sales, they're probably using their software. InContact trained half of their sales reps on social selling, so doing what I did, where you help somebody to the point that they feel that they are obligated to buy from you because they've invested this time in getting to know about you and your company. And they found that these sales reps had a 160% larger sales pipeline and achieved 215% more revenue than those who did not utilize the social selling part of their company. So it is possible to use social media to make money, but it's not as simple as you posting the same ad that you have in the newspaper or even on your website and hoping that people come to you. You need to use social media strategically to make people happy. So we're going to go back to platforms. And now that we're going back to platforms, I'm going to go over what each of them does so that we can talk about what type of content is best suited to them and also how often you should be contributing to each of them if you're going to be on them. The majority of dealerships registered today have less than 5,000 followers on their pages. So I went through the list of who is supposed to be attending today and I looked at all your stuff. And I know all your secrets, and I'm not going to call you out today like I normally do. I'm going to be really nice. We're just gonna go based on the benchmarks of what you guys have. So I'm sharing benchmarks based on the audience size that you guys have, less than 5,000 followers. But I also need you to remember with platforms that you should be rewarding those followers on each of those platforms with a reason to follow you on that channel versus the next one, or a reason that they should follow you on everything that you're on. Because you don't do that by sharing the same text or the same images, and especially the same image sizes and messages on every single channel. Because otherwise, if they're going to get the same thing everywhere, what is the point of following on different platforms if they're just going to see the exact same thing they already saw somewhere else? That's one of my big pet peeves, and why I tend to use only one or two social media networks now, because I'm tired of being delivered the same stuff. So that's not to say that you can't promote a campaign across all channels or with the same wording, because that's an advertising best practice. But if each channel offers a rich experience in a different format, it makes the most sense that you would utilize those in the best way that you possibly can. So let's talk about each one and what's special. If you are only going to be on one platform and you want to kick ass on it, please be on Facebook. I don't just say that because we work with Facebook. Facebook is a very all-encompassing platform. But the things that you need to remember about Facebook and doing well with Facebook is that their timeline is optimized to deliver what Facebook has learned people love the most. We actually have a video that we can probably share with you guys at some point that we shot with Brian Sensich. He's our rep from Facebook. He came into the office and I got to ask him lots of questions that we'd had clients submitting to us. So what we did is we learned that Facebook shows on their timeline things that people care about the most based on what they've interacted with. So updates from their friends and family, rich format content like videos or images or articles, or content from business pages that other people have liked. They really like to show stuff that is proven to have had good engagement. So just because you're posting a lot on social media doesn't mean it's going to be seen. What Facebook does is that if they can tell that people care about this, that's what they optimize first. And people care most about their friends and family. Otherwise, you wouldn't have friends and family on Facebook. The next thing that you need to learn about Facebook is that, actually, let's do it this way. Grab your mobile phone and pull it out in front of you and open up the Facebook app. And I'm going to give you a hot second for that to happen and let everything load. And some of you have slower phones, can catch up, unlock them. Let's get it up. Okay, everybody's got the Facebook mobile app open? Now, I need you to tilt the screen like you would if you wanted to watch a video on YouTube and make it really big. And tell me what happens. You don't need to tell me, I know what happens. What happens is that Facebook doesn't change how it looks when you tilt the screen. So what this means for you is that we need to break away from this notion of having widescreen videos and this notion of having widescreen images, and you should be using either vertical or square images or videos, and accept that you have a narrower screen to work with than what we're usually used to. I know, because I spent so much time curating content with my photographers when I worked in a dealership, that we get these beautiful images that are in landscape orientation because our vehicles are wide. We know that. From the front they're not wide, but they're wide. But what we need to get used to is the fact that they're not going to see the best image if it's wide, because it has to shrink to fit that narrow screen. So if we accept that we have a narrower screen to work with, we get used to utilizing either the square format or the really long, beautiful panoramic vertical view, and kind of what we can do best there. So that's really great for showing off the front of a vehicle or showing off some details and being able to really be able to see closer, because people want to be able to feel like they're getting the most out of that experience. And you'll get rewarded tenfold if you switch to vertical images or videos. The other thing about videos is that videos are set to autoplay on mute on Facebook. So if you are creating videos, they have to be interesting enough without sound in the first 4 seconds to prevent someone from scrolling past it. And either be able to get your message across without sound, assuming that somebody is never going to unmute you, or want to unmute to hear what your video has to say. But so I guess there's 2 situations with the unmute situation. You have to accept that there are some people who are never going to be able to unmute your video because they're out in public somewhere, or they're out somewhere that they don't want someone to know that they're on Facebook watching videos. So if you want them to watch that video, there needs to be a reason for them and value that they're going to get out of that video without unmuting. Conversely, the easiest way for you to have someone unmute your video to hear what you have to say is to put someone's face in it. Studies have shown time and time again that the more your content has faces in it, the better engagement it's going to get, and people are interested in hearing what somebody has to say if they've already been excited enough by the first couple seconds. So if you show something really rich and image heavy, like to have that kind of graphical pull at the beginning, and then after the first couple seconds switch it to someone talking where they can see a mouth moving, people will want to watch that. So the next one is that you're going to, I want you to utilize some of the tools that Facebook has available from its native platform. When I say native platform, I mean the app or the website that company has developed, because that is the best way to use their social media platform. So use the native Facebook app. And you can shoot 360 images now, which I wish had been a thing without, I wish had been a thing when I was in a dealership. They sort of added it in at the tail end of last year when I was still there, but so many other things to work on. And I started to kind of talk with my photographers about Wouldn't this be such a great opportunity to show off the interior of a vehicle? If you've got new cars that they're adding so much technology in, or they're adding all of these different things that you can use at once, get in the car and shoot that 360 video to show off things that you're not going to see from a quick picture of a car from its exterior. Or if you just had a renovation, show people what the difference is that you're not going to get from that picture, or the panorama that stretches everything. I want you to show them what they're going to see as though they're right there. And lastly, very few people, this is a warning, very few people like Facebook Live. It is intrusive in the way that it notifies everyone in your audience individually in their personalized notifications that you're going to be live. So unless you're delivering content that's really high value to everyone, every single follower that you have, or you've let everyone know ahead of time that you're going to be going live because there's an opportunity to see something that they need to see right then and there and be able to ask questions or engage with that, there really isn't a point to going live. If they can watch a walk around video later, shoot a walk around video that they can do later. You don't need to be live for that. Because you'd be better off to not annoy the snot out of everyone by going live and having that. Facebook knows that the way that they originally launched it was extraordinarily intrusive, because now they provide people the opportunity to turn that notification off. And the second you turn that notification off because the second your audience turns that notification off because you've abused that tool, you don't get it back. They're not going to go back and think like, oh, I wonder if they're still doing really annoying live videos. Let's turn the notification back on so that we can find out. That doesn't happen. So please don't abuse it. Don't use it unless you absolutely need to. With Facebook, if you have less than 5,000 followers, please cap your posts at one post per day maximum. Nobody is actually going to see more than that with the way that the Facebook algorithm delivers your content until you have a larger following that is engaging with your content. So let's keep it at one. There are actually lots of studies out there. A company called Buffer has done lots of testing and everything like that to show that they used to put out a lot of content, and they've got a much bigger following than you do. And as soon as they started paring it down and showing less, and actually doing what suits the algorithm on each social media page, they got greater engagement, and it increased everything kind of overall. So less is more. We can do less and have a better result. The next one we're going to talk about is Twitter. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Twitter, outside of its bizarre association with Donald Trump, Twitter is a universal social media feed where people post content that is 140 characters or less into a chronological feed versus an algorithmic one. So with a chronological feed, it shows everything in real time. Occasionally it'll make suggestions to you about things you might have missed, but for the most part, everything delivers as it's being delivered, and going back hours and hours or days in the past is a real pain in the ass. So with the chronological feed, you have to stick to 140 characters or less, but now that doesn't include links, images, or videos toward your total character count, which I wish had been a thing when I was in a dealership, because the number of times that I had to get really creative with what I had to post in 140 characters to also fit in the picture or the image, like, my goodness, y'all are so lucky at this point in time. So what Twitter is really great for is sharing or resharing articles, and for having a discussion around those topics that's just text only. As long as you're okay with responding to someone specific, so at so-and-so, or to no one, and not no one, but to everyone, instead of it being specific, and nothing in between. It's really not great for having to have conversations where you include a couple people and go off on a side tangent, because you're going to use up all of your character space just by including the at mention to have those 2 specific people or 3 specific people follow what you're talking about. Twitter's platform also lends especially well to those shorter, wider images, because the preview panel has a wide crop for all pictures. So this is where we can utilize those pictures that we really would have liked to have on Facebook with the wide shots of our cars, because Twitter is just really great for sharing landscape orientation images or videos. If you do share videos, I need you to make sure that your copy, the text that you're putting with it, is extremely compelling, because videos do not autoplay. So someone has to want to click it based on what you wrote. And man, that is a science in and of itself. But because of the increased speed at which a chronological news feed turns over, you can and should post 5 to 6 times per day on Twitter. Not the same thing every single time unless you really want to be annoying, but even with less than 5,000 followers. So 5 to 6 times per day is, just like a fresh post 5 to 6 times per day. It doesn't include responses or conversations that you decide to have, questions that you're answering. A post or a different conversation 5 to 6 times a day is ideal for Twitter. Google Posts is Google's newest iteration of combining social media sharing with their Google My Business interface. So now you're able to add update posts if you want to share news about something. And this is actually the only place where I think that a low commitment, quick return offer, like, here is the special we're having on winter tires, or here is this semi-salesy post that you can benefit from right away, but you don't have to sell your life or give us your name and phone number to have this option. This is the only place where I think that it will actually yield decent results, simply because there really isn't much option from Google at this point in time for engagement. So don't worry about the salesy posts, especially because they only show up in list 1 or 2 at a time in the Google Knowledge Panel area where the business listings show up on the side, and the posts disappear periodically. So it's okay to have this, but because of that, you also should really only kind of stick to like 1 post a day. This is still really new. Google launched this a little over a month ago. And they haven't kind of fleshed it out. So at this point in time, 1 post a day is probably sufficient. We don't need to dedicate a lot of time and a lot of effort, but we should do it just once a day. That's all. There are lots of other things you'll do more than once a day, and lots of other platforms to focus on. And the last one, which is the most popular one we get questions about right now, is Instagram. And this is a post I pulled off of Instagram last night because I am a super big fan right now of Volkswagen camper vans and minimalistic living and all this kind of stuff. So I thought this was a cool picture. But I guess that's kind of what we're getting at, is that it really lends well to being able to share things that are of people's interests. So rich images and videos is Instagram's bread and butter. They are just a platform that uses an algorithmic feed to share images and videos. That's it. But like Facebook, they only want you to use the square or portrait orientation. They only added portrait orientation last year. So square and portrait. Focus on vertical images and videos, or the square images and videos, and again, ensuring that you're delivering nothing but engaging content, lest you have everyone scroll right past it and you wasted your effort that went into creating that content in the first place. So there's a couple big differentiators from Facebook to Instagram. So Instagram does not provide the ability to reshare from its native app. So they don't care about whether or not your posts are shared. They care about contents and they care about likes. And now they're starting to care about saves, as you can see with that little bookmark there. So you can share privately, but you can't share so that everyone sees it in your feed. And it's a real pain in the ass if you want to do it. So there's also less of a focus on milestone type profile content. So Facebook is really big on content if it says, this is the day I started at my new job, or this is the day I bought my new car. This is the day that I got engaged, got married, had my first child's birthday, became friends with this person. They care about milestones. Instagram doesn't care about that. So you don't have to worry about that. And Instagram also has a higher prioritization of business profiles in the newsfeed, provided that customers engage with your images or videos. So if you really want to leverage something as a business, Instagram is a much easier way to do this, because you're going to see a lot more business profiles in Instagram than you are elsewhere, as long as the content is big and beautiful and really lends to the Instagram format. You probably saw last year when everyone was super terrified of the algorithm shift on Instagram, and they were harassing all of their followers to subscribe to their updates. The funny part about this is that this is not uncommon in social media at all, and the panic is super unnecessary, because the people who like your posts will still keep seeing them, and more often actually, and you're able to get away with slightly more posts than you otherwise would on Facebook, both from an audience and a frequency perspective. So as long as you're delivering stuff that people like and people are giving that little heart to and commenting on and telling their friends about, like, you'll see more of it. So that's the kind of cool part about Instagram. For dealerships who have less than 5,000 followers on Instagram, stick to about 1.5 posts every day. And I say 1.5 posts like you can half post. So do one day, 2 the next day, and kind of back and forth like that. Average it out. But the thing I have to warn you about Instagram is that it is a mobile-only platform. So what you have to have somebody that's at the dealership doing it from their mobile phone. You're not going to be able to outsource this to anyone else. So if you want to do it, have a person who is committed to doing the Instagram. And next. So I believe in you, and I believe that you can do this. So I'm actually going to provide you with some basics as far as planning is concerned, and we're going to talk about that. So I created you some fancy little spreadsheets that are in Google Drive. So if you follow those bit.ly links to Google Drive, you'll be able to save those back to your drive. I've made it so you can only view them. You can't edit it because I don't need to see that you've checked off your things to do that day, or that you've checked off your content or what you're putting into your content calendar. That's for you. So go to those links. We will also include them in the email out. And what you're going to do is it's going to have a content calendar where week by week you can kind of plug in what you're going to post, plan it all out, put your links in there, put your text in there, and then all you have to do is post it when it's time to post instead of trying to think of it on the spot and then spending way too much time on it. The checklist also goes over what kind of stuff you should be doing on a daily basis with social media, what kind of stuff you should do on a weekly basis with social media, and what you should do on a monthly basis with social media. And you can check it off there and repopulate it, duplicate it, save it by day, do whatever you like. But I did them in Google Drive so that everybody can have it because Google Drive is free. I also want to tell you about a couple tools for if you're doing all of this planning ahead of time. You'll have a little bit more time to get stuff ready. So you can use Canva or Adobe Spark to create beautiful social media graphics. So if you really like doing things on a desktop, and even just making sure that your pictures are formatted to the right size dimensions for each platform, Canva is an online tool that you can use that you can have all sorts of templates, and they can give you filters and cute little graphic boxes and different text formats. We use this all the time at Strathcom. Canva is our friend for those of us who are not super Photoshoppy designers. So we use this, and it's great from a desktop because then you can do all of it at once. You can resize everything. There's a free version. There's also a paid version. Paid version has some shortcuts to make it really streamlined, but there's that. And Adobe Spark, if you really like doing this on a mobile device and you don't want to have to be bound to your desktop to make graphics, the Canva interface on a mobile device is a little bit clumsy, so I prefer to use Adobe Spark, which will let you resize things, change lighting, fix your pictures, and add text and stuff like that on top if you need to. So those are the two tools, because I believe in you that you can do this. So we're also going to talk, so once we've got it all prepped and planned, I'm telling you right now it is 1,000 times easier to schedule your posts or stockpile them or do whatever you need to do to not have to be the person pressing post every single time. And we're going to talk about each of these tools just really quickly. So Sprout Social, which is the one that's in the little snapshot image at the side here. Sprout Social is widely regarded in our office and across many others as the tool for scheduling it, but it is a paid tool. Sprout Social costs per user, so you can have everybody share a profile or you can have multiple profiles, but you'll pay $99 a month for Sprout Social. The pros is that it has such amazing reporting and analytics integration. So you can match it up with your Google Analytics accounts, which we can kind of help you hook up here at Strathcom if you have that. But what you can also do is it will calculate all kinds of different things. It lets you compare your social media profile with somebody else who's a competitor, on top of scheduling all of the different things. It also has a queue style option, so they call it queue here. And what it does is you can prep a whole bunch of social media posts ahead of time and then select the delivery, like how many times a day you want it to post, what days of the week you want it to post. And what it does is it watches your social media accounts and it tracks how what time of day and how your followers are interacting with those posts. So what it does is that if it knows that at 3 o'clock on is when you're going to get the most engagement on Facebook, it'll post at 3 o'clock. But it also knows that maybe the better time for you on Twitter for that same post is going to be at 9 a.m. So it'll post it at 9 a.m. And it's really great for if you've got all of these posts all loaded up, it'll just deliver it as best you can. So if you want to have 5 a day going out on Twitter and only 1 a day going out on Facebook, oh my goodness, Sprout Social is your goal. The cons are that it is the most expensive tool at $99 a month per user. So it also has the ability for like teams to work together, but you have to pay for everyone to have their individual accounts. But you can also set up delegation that way. It's really great if you've got more than one person working on this. It is spectacular. It is also good for Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and it has a semi-integration with Instagram. The thing you're going to have to be careful with all tools with Instagram is that Instagram hasn't opened up its API fully to allow any scheduler to be able to post for you. What it does is that you can load the picture in, you can load your caption and all of your hashtags and everything like that, and at the time that it's supposed to go out, it will prompt you to open it up on your mobile device, as long as you download whatever app that you're using for a scheduler with your Instagram app. It'll prompt you to open it up on your mobile device. It'll load everything in. You have to pick the filter, and you have to press post. That's it. So it's super clean and easy to use, and I really encourage everybody to use a scheduler. The next one is Hootsuite, which has a free version and a paid version. But the pros with Hootsuite is that, yes, it is a free tool. The dashboard shows all of your accounts at once instead of having to kind of muck around with everything as you are building it out. But the cons are that it's not the most intuitive user interface. So if you've got some people that are maybe not the most tech savvy, this isn't the one for you. It also forces you to use their URL shortener instead of something like Bitly, so where you're trying to condense your links so that you don't have a big long link there, especially if you use UTM codes, that kind of thing. It doesn't let you use something that tracks your analytics everywhere else. It just makes you use Hootly from there. And it works with Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and Instagram in the same method that we talked about with Sprout Social. So Buffer has free and it has paid. I'm telling you right now, the paid Buffer version is not worth the extra money for what else you get for it. So I would stick to the free one if I'm for you. So the pros are that it is, if you're looking for a free tool that has that clean, simple, intuitive sort of a thing, the same way that you compare people who it's much easier for people who don't know computers to use a Mac. It's more simple for people who don't know computers to use Buffer than it is for them to use Hootsuite. It also has a link shortener that shows, it has its own link shortener, but it can integrate with Bitly and other things to show link stats right then and there in the tool. And it has that same kind of queue type function for auto posting like Sprout Social does. So if you're looking for a free version of that that's comparable but still not as amazing as Sprout Social, Buffer is cool. The cons are that it does not have an integration with Google Analytics, so that's kind of sucky. But that's about it. And it's not going to be as robust as your paid Sprout Social tool, but it's a good alternative. If you're going to pay for it, pay for Sprout Social. But if you want free, Buffer. And then and it works with Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So the last one we're going to talk about here is MeetEdgar. It's another paid tool, but it's cheaper. It's like a $49.99 a month kind of a deal. And what MeetEdgar is really, really great at is sharing evergreen content. So evergreen content are those blog posts, those landing pages that you've spent all of this time and maybe some money and probably a lot of effort putting together that are going to be good no matter when you share them or no matter what year it is. So maybe not stuff specific to a model, but stuff specific to maintenance, stuff specific to the facts about your dealership, why it's more beneficial to deal with you guys as opposed to somebody else. That evergreen content. What happens with MeetEdgar is that it basically populates a library of all of your posts, and it gives you the opportunity to reuse them and just kind of reschedule them in whenever you want. The con to this is that it requires constant library optimization so that you aren't resharing irrelevant posts over and over again. The other thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't really have Instagram is not big on articles, so it doesn't use Instagram integration, and it's better suited to Facebook and Twitter. So those are the scheduling posts. I'm also going to talk only once about rules-based processes. So if this then that is a rules-based process app that you can set from your mobile phone to do certain things if something else happens. So I am not a supporter of auto-posting anything because just because it's already posted somewhere else, unless you can set it up to look like you did it properly, in which case I'm a big fan of streamlining your process to work smart and not hard. So one of the things that drives me and customers nuts is if you post something on Facebook and it auto-posts it to Twitter with a link to take them back to Facebook. That is so freaking annoying because it cuts it off, because typically whatever you've posted on Facebook does not fit the character count for Twitter. And 9 times out of 10, those links break. So why would we auto-share anything? Quit auto-sharing unless you're going to use something like if this, then that. So if this, then that is saying something like, if I post this picture on Instagram and I include a hashtag because I don't want everything that I post on Instagram to auto-share to Facebook because I post more on Instagram than I do on Facebook, include this hashtag and it will upload that Instagram image that was saved to my camera roll to Facebook and make it look like a native post in the Facebook app. That's what you're kind of using this for. You can automatically have it so that it reformats if you share a link on Facebook, that it will automatically share that same link but utilize the Twitter interface to make sure that it looks good in Twitter and is sharing that link with the text as well. That's the kind of thing that it does. And that's where you want to use these applets to work smart and not hard. So I know that was a lot of information, and I know that I am super over time, so we are going to move along to questions. And I feel like I see hands and questions, so JC is going to read some questions to me, and I am going to answer.
Okay, so we do have a few questions in. First, Jonathan Mitchell said that he would be in for more in-depth social training. So Jonathan, please send Melina an email and we will set that up for you. Her email address is melina@strathcom.com.
We'll have that on the last slide too.
Yes. He also said that links were not working, and then he said never mind, and then he said thank you. He said they were fantastic. So if anyone else is having issues with the links, we are going to send them out with the recording, so don't worry about that. And Jonathan also asked, I guess the previous person that was handling their social media has Facebook set up to auto-post everything to Twitter. How can he turn that off?
Without looking at it off the top of my head, you can turn it off. It's not that hard. If you'd like, Jonathan, we can sit down, we can hop on a call at some point, and we can screen share, and I can walk you through how to turn it off. I'd love to open it up and show you. I just don't have it all set up here, and I don't have it turned on one of these, and I don't want to log into your Facebook in front of everyone. So we'll work on it.
Does that answer your question, Jonathan?
Hoping for a yes.
Yes. He says thank you. He's going to dig around. He's going to try to figure out how to do it himself. But yeah, we will figure that out.
We will help you. Don't worry.
Another question is, you mentioned a few different social platforms on there. How should a dealer go about posting on LinkedIn?
Okay. So with a lot of these schedulers, you can also post it to LinkedIn, that kind of a thing. I could have included LinkedIn in this presentation, and it probably would have added another 5 to 10 minutes to the presentation. What I will tell you about posting on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn is great for connecting with other people who want to work with you, or other people who are vendors and stuff like that, and sharing what's going on there and kind of building up brand equity that way. But LinkedIn is for attracting employees, not attracting customers, so I decided not to talk about that today. But if we do a social media kind of a boot camp class with webinars, then we'll talk about it more there. I'm sorry that I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to add more time to you guys. Sorry.
That's okay. Another question that we got: if social media isn't for sales, what if a dealer doesn't want to spend the time posting on the social media? For all my fellow Simpsons fans out there, can't someone else do it?
Yeah. So I expected this, and I don't want to dive too deeply into this because there are some things that we're supposed to sell at like Mercedes-Benz specifically. For a lot of you dealers have different deals with Shift Media and everything like that. If you want to talk more directly to your online marketing manager, Strathcom does offer a social posting package. So what you can do, what it does is it would go into each of your profiles and it would optimize them so that they look nice. We've got all the consistent information on top of that. It comes packaged with our review and reputation package as well that goes through and cleans up your citations, answers all of your negative reviews, gets your house in order there first, but it posts to 4 platforms 4 times a week and kind of goes that way. So we have that. It is available to you, and if you want to talk about pricing, you can email me directly, or we can talk about, or you can talk to your online marketing manager, and they can tell you what is offered based on what your manufacturer has negotiated.
So one other question that came in, excuse me. So with the changes to Castle and electronic messages and privacy and things like that, is there does posting on social media change at all? Is that included in Castle, or how does that work?
So the fun thing about social media is that it's not, you don't have to worry about Castle compliance with social media, specifically because people who are being delivered your content have basically opted in already to follow your pages or to like your pages and receive your content. So you don't have to worry about Castle there. You're also protected with Castle because whenever anybody signs up to have an account on those pages, what it does is that they've already taken care of what you should and shouldn't be seeing, and it's Facebook's deal, and you've accepted the terms to use Facebook, so Castle won't apply. There are other options with Castle if you want to use your email lists that you maybe can't use anymore with social media. We can talk about that more in the social advertising webinar next month, but what you can do is that basically you can provide that email list and we can deliver ads on Facebook to people who have used those email addresses to sign up for Facebook. They'll get delivered ads without knowing that you plugged their email address into Facebook, and you can share your content that way if you want something a little more salesy, like you would in an email blast, but without violating Castle. So there's that.
Awesome. So another question that just came in, aside from curating engaging content, what is the best way to build a larger audience?
I feel like you're, aside from curating engaging content, that is the #1 way to build yourself a larger audience. I suppose I want to know why you think you need a larger audience than what you're doing. So having volume is a vanity metric, is basically the long and the short of what I've said here. So having lots of followers doesn't matter if people aren't actually receiving your content in the first place. So you can have all of the followers in the world, but if nobody is seeing them, like even with Facebook, you can see how many page likes you have versus how many people are following your content. So if you're posting too much, people will unfollow you. If you're posting stuff that people don't care about, they will unfollow you because they think you're annoying, that kind of a thing. So like, I know you can pay for followers if you really need that, self pat on the back, but at the end of the day, nobody cares how many followers you have unless you're, a company that's trying to gain sponsorships or something like that. So you'll see bloggers who really want to have high Instagram followings high Instagram followings or high Facebook followings because they know that they can then sell that back to a bank or a company that's pushing gummy bears that help you grow your hair long, or things like that they can use for sponsorships where they can make money that way. But for a dealership, the size of your following only matters if they're engaged. So you're going to have to create that content. You're going to have to do the work. And I know that that's not the answer that everybody wants. You could pay for followers if you need them, but it's not going to sell you more cars. So I'm sorry, does that answer your question? Do we get a yes?
As well as possible, yes.
As well as possible, okay. Here we go.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Let's give everyone a couple minutes. I guess to also kind of touch on Rob's question, that's also included in one of those Facebook videos that we did with Brian when we interviewed him, was he talked about how his grandmother, how she will just scroll through Facebook and like every single thing that she sees. So just because someone likes something or is following something might not necessarily mean that they're willing to buy. So we do have some more Jonathan says, using LinkedIn, fleet options and finance tips. Worth my time?
I want to tell you it's worth your time for fleet because you're connecting with other businesses and everything like that. There is like a business platform called LinkedIn Navigator, Sales Navigator, that you can use to kind of prospect people on LinkedIn that way. And you can do that, but it's not just organic posting, and you can use it to prospect people, but at the end of the day, that customer service thing kicks in. So like, I wouldn't tell you to spend a whole lot of time or money on that unless you know that the people that are on LinkedIn, that are connecting with you on LinkedIn, are doing it because they want to do business with you and not just because they're looking for a job. Does that make sense? Anything else, like, what was the other half of that? Fleet and what else?
Finance tips.
Finance tips don't really matter because, again, the intent of somebody on LinkedIn is to connect with other people doing business or to connect with people looking for a job. So your finance tips are actually really better spent on something like Twitter if you want to answer questions directly to people with text, or they're better suited to people on Facebook because 18 million Canadians are on Facebook every day. So that's kind of the way that I would look at it.
Are there any other questions? Okay, if there's any other, we can just, Melina's address or email address is on the screen there if you want to email her directly. Again, everyone that has attended this webinar today is going to be entered in to win the authenticated and autographed McDavid jersey. Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.